Doing a reading on the JonBenet Ramsey case, and why hasn't it been solved until now? Why did the Boulder police do such a bad job of the investigation? I think back in, I think it's 1997 is the year that comes to mind, but it might be a different year. They knew they had DNA from an unidentified male DNA. It was on JonBenet's underwear and also on the waistband of her pajamas. I don't know if they ever tested the garrote, but they had this unidentified male DNA, and it's still not been solved. So why did they mess it up so badly? Fertility. I think the lady that got there first did a bad job, and then they were trying to protect her reputation. They thought her reputation wouldn't recover if they didn't cover for her. Power. The police had all the power, and they just jumped to conclusions. Fertility, the mother. For some reason, they misread the clues. They misread the clues, and they saw that they believed that long and rambling letter could only have been created by somebody after the murder. They didn't even consider that somebody might have been lying in wait and been messing around and had time to write that long and rambling ransom note. And so they just immediately thought of the mother. They thought it was female handwriting. There were some potential consistencies between Patsy's handwriting and the handwriting in the note. And, the note was left, I think, to confuse people, and it certainly did. It baffled the Boulder police. And they just honed in on Patsy Ramsey straight away. Fear. That first lady police officer that went there, she was terrified when the body was brought up from the basement. She was terrified, and she didn't know what to do. And maybe the Boulder police were also in a state of shock and fear. They'd never seen anything like it. Warning. Oof. Was a policeman threatened in some way? Or were their jobs threatened? Maybe they thought they could just steamroll the mother or the father in as the culprit, and then they wouldn't have to show their incompetence. Why didn't they bring in the FBI? Disconnection. They thought that they were the be-all and end-all, and they thought that they would be able to solve this. In fact, they just assumed it was the parents to start with, and so they didn't need any help. So that was just, they assumed it was the parents, and then they try to make the evidence fit. Reciprocity. The investigators were all looking after each other, and when they brought in that independent investigator, and he didn't meet up with their expectations, they just let him go. They got rid of him. Smith, I think, was his name. Alchemy. They didn't think that they were not going to let this family pull the wool over their eyes, and they were the police, and they were going to sort it out. Loyalty. Yeah, there's something about trying to hide the incompetence. They thought it was a mystery that they could easily solve, and people would be misdirected away from their incompetence. Just really shocking. They were more worried about covering their own arse than finding the actual culprit. Respect. They thought so much of themselves and each other that they thought they were the gods of investigation. Basically, they saw themselves as the highest authority, and even though they misread the clues because they had no experience in those fields, they put so much store in their own understanding that they didn't contemplate that any other solution could be true. Compassion. Okay, so they were horrified by the crime. There's the girl in the background. They were horrified by the crime, and they wanted to make somebody pay. that they had an overflated sense of ego, and they thought they already knew who it was right from the get-go. Discipline. They made the other officers fall into line. Anybody who didn't go with their theory of the case was no longer on the case. Yeah. Ego, love. They loved themselves. They had such a strong ego that they thought they were the ones that were going to, that had already solved the case. They thought they had already solved the case. Freedom. They didn't want the family to go free because initially they genuinely believed that it was the family. And then, I don't know if they changed their minds later, but they were on that one track that they just wanted to confirm their bias. Resilience. Yeah, it was like an echo chamber. They were all talking to each other, saying the same things, but with the eyes closed, not actually seeing the truth. And again, there's such big egos at play. They weren't used to having the media spotlight on them. And it was a difficult case. Rest. There was no rest. They did work. They did work hard, but unfortunately, they were blinded. See, those guys got a mask on. They were blinded by their own self-elevation, darkness. They couldn't see past their own theories. Loneliness. Again, this is like an echo chamber. I'm getting four of them. 4 main detectives that just, you know how when you brainstorm something and you don't have anybody who's got any ideas differently to you, it just sounds like a good idea. I'm getting this baffled by their own bullshit. Acceptance, hell. They couldn't accept that they were wrong. They couldn't accept that they were wrong or that there might be a different theory. I mean, from the get-go, when that first 911 call came in, they should have had a better police presence there. And then the detective who went, or the lady who went, the policeman who went, got the family to search the house. This was some hours later. I'm sorry, when a child is missing, isn't that the first thing you do, is search the house? They were lazy. They were lazy. It was Christmas. They didn't want to give up their Christmas. Oh. That's why they didn't go and attend, because it was Christmas. Depth. There was no depth to them. It was just a job. It was just a job. They didn't care about the people at all. It was just a job. They wanted to be with their families over Christmas. They didn't really care. Mischief. They thought it was a prank. They thought maybe the kid was hiding. But even if you thought the kid was hiding, surely the first thing you're going to do is search the area. Keep people out so that they don't contaminate the evidence. Put the family up in a motel and bring the cops in to search the residence. Surely. I wonder if there's at least one of those policemen, maybe the chief, had bad intent. Just working out his years until he could retire, or... yeah. I don't know. Just, there was no sense of urgency. No sense of urgency. No sense of foresight. The first lady on the job should have had the foresight to not let the crime scene be contaminated. But she let all these people in. These are all the friends and families, and she turned a blind eye to it. I don't know if there was a relationship between her and some of the other, where they wanted to protect her or something. There were so many choice points along the way where the police could have done the right thing, and time again they didn't. She should have made sure the scene was clear. She shouldn't have let the people in. She shouldn't have let the family search the house. They should have got policemen there to search the house and to search the surrounds. All these things, but instead they only looked at the evidence that they thought met or agreed with their theory of the case. Beauty, the mermaid. They didn't see Patsy Ramsey as a beautiful, dutiful mother. I know what it was. Why they judged Patsy so harshly. See, she's got this, there's a boat on her head, but it's like a little crown. And they thought that because she was letting JonBenet go into these pageants, almost that she was prostituting her daughter. Now, a lot of people don't agree with the pageants, but I think they judged her immediately for putting her daughter in the limelight like that. And so, because they had this bad view of this bad mother, that's why they went so hard at her. Yep, they thought that she was putting her daughter in danger. And they thought that she was, yeah, just a bad mother. And so everything that they did and saw in the crime scene, they saw through that lens. Yep. Their mother made the choice to put the child in danger by putting her into these pageants. So it wasn't a stretch by any of the imagination to think that the mother might have been the one that had killed her, because the mother maybe got jealous because the child was so successful that she was overshadowing the mother. This is the thoughts, completely unfounded, that the police had. Treasure. That the mother wanted to be. The mother wanted to be the center of attention. She wanted to be the sovereign. Wow. That the daughter was bringing her grief. That the mother was angry when the focus went to the daughter. Oh, this makes sort of sick, weird, twisted sense. But how these policemen were in this group and there's the other focus card. They saw her as this wicked, evil mother, when merely she was just, her love for her child was as pure as a kitten. Patsy Ramsey was this, and they saw her like that. And then they just assumed that anybody else in the family must have helped her, must have covered for her, must have been guilty, when in fact there was chaos in the crime scene, and that was the police's own fault. Vengeance. They thought she was taking vengeance on her daughter. See the crown there? Because her daughter was too popular. There was this was the mindset of the police to start with, and they just kept going, digging themselves deeper and deeper into that hole. They couldn't see any other options. And the weird thing is, they had that phone call, the 911 phone call, where everybody said Burke was asleep, but they thought they heard a male voice, not John, in the background saying, "What did you tell them?" Honestly, I listened to that tape and I couldn't hear anything. So I think that conspiracy theory is absolute rubbish. But again, they just, they thought Patsy ruled the roost. She was the queen, and it says the gratification. If a mother was going to kill their child, why would they make it garrote and strangle them and then smash them on the head? It's so close and personal and disgusting, and it just, they saw her as this wicked, evil person, which she just absolutely wasn't. They just didn't understand this pageant world, and I think that's where their twisted thinking. It wasn't her that was twisted, it was them that was twisted. Hades, the underworld. And maybe it was easier to blame the family than to admit that they might have a stranger offender in their midst, which would be much more difficult for them to catch. And yet, if they had looked at sexual offenders, they would have found the right person. And all these snakes, the phallic symbol, this is somebody who has been violently sexual multiple times. Hunger. Yeah, the two faces of the cops. They wanted to be seen as right. They wanted to be seen as the protectors, the guardians. It was all about their image and not about actually taking care of the community. Wow. Wow. Synergy. While the cops were going after the family, the bad guy was able to get away. They have a lot to answer for. They have a lot to answer for. And now they've got a new police chief, I believe. So let's see, what does the card say about the new police chief? Blessings. He is a blessing to the community. Nice. Boundaries. If he had been in charge, this would never have happened. Or the way that the investigation went would never have happened, because he wouldn't have allowed it. He wouldn't have allowed the police perception. Sorry, just got disrupted. He wouldn't have allowed the perception of the police to make any difference. So in other words, he wouldn't have cared if it made them look bad, if they had to start again or change their theory of the case or whatever. Regeneration. He is really out to catch the bad guys. He really is out to protect the community, to cut off the heads of the bad guys. And if he had been in charge at the time, this investigation would have gone in a completely different direction. Service. He's there to be in service to the others. And he knows it's going to be a bit of a journey, but he will get there. And he will be the one who drives the investigation forward now to illuminate the wicked person who was involved in this, well, who was the perpetrator of this heinous, disgusting act. And they should have been brought to justice decades ago. What do you think? What do you think about the police involvement? What do you think about the police investigation? Please leave me a comment. It really helps, even if it's just an emoji. And like if you do, and subscribe if you haven't. And let me know if you want more of the criminal type readings, or if you prefer the royal stuff. I like to do whatever my people like. And may the angels walk with you now and always.